Hi guys, welcome to my channel again, and I'm going to be starting a series or something, even though I start series and don't finish them. I'm getting to it. So I'm starting a series for people who struggle with disabilities or just struggle in general to find their worth. I know that when people struggle or they have disabilities, they might have this like inner critic that tells them that they can't do that, or they're too dumb for that, they can't do this, or they have people in their life that they really care about that tell these people that they can't ever achieve these things. And I just want to make it very clear that you can, and that your struggles are not who you are as a person, and you can do miraculous things. It doesn't matter who tells you or how many people tell you that you can't do these things, because it's just not true. So let me get started. I do have scripts, like things that I've researched and tried to figure out and stuff like that. So here it is. So Charles Darwin had Asperger's syndrome, and he was also a scientist, a science of evolution. The next person is Agatha Christie. I think that's how you say her last name. She was an author. She sold over 200 billion copies of her books. She had dyslexia and a word that I can't pronounce very well, which is dysgraphia. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this is how it was spelled. Dysgraphia. And it basically means that it made her difficult to write stuff. Albert Einstein, which is literally a name that everybody knows. Albert Einstein, he won the Nobel Prize in physics. There was rumors he had a learning disability. He did struggle in school, and particularly with memorization. He also said he found learning difficult. He excelled at imagination. It was also said that he had autism and dyslexia. The next person is George Washington, which I'm sure everyone knows George Washington because we've been in schools, even though a lot of things that should be taught in schools are not. So this is the next person, George Washington, the first president of the United States. It's believed he had dyslexia. He struggled with grammar and spelling throughout his life. Leonardo da Vinci, he was a genius who excelled in multiple fields of science and literature. He had erratic spelling and practiced mirror writing with his left hand. While his writing is strange, his drawings were very detailed and well rendered. It was said he had ADHD, reflected by the fact that he started numerous projects and followed through on just a few of them. The next one is Michael Phelps. He's the most decorated Olympic athlete of all time. With 28 medals for swimming, he was diagnosed with ADHD when he was in the 6th grade. By the time he had already achieved national record in swimming, he also said he struggled with depression. Helen Keller. She was the first deaf and blind person to earn a college degree. She published 12 books and was a prolific speaker. Beethoven. Beethoven's full name was Ludwig van Beethoven. Composed some of the best known recognized classical music. He suffered severe hearing loss. There are many speculations about the causes of his hearing loss. Frida Kahlo, I don't know if I'm even saying her name right, so I apologize. She is a Mexican painter known for her bold, proactive self-portraits. She suffered from multiple disabilities. She was diagnosed with polio polio at the age of 6. It caused her right leg to be thinner than her left. When she was 18, a trolley accident left her with a broken spine, broken pelvis, and a pierced abdomen. After the tragic accident, she suffered from pains for the rest of her life. But that didn't stop her from being one of the most well-known artists of the 20th century, which I think is amazing because I probably would feel like I'm dying if I was her. John Lennon. He was dyslexic. He was not diagnosed, but some believe that he did have dyslexia. He excelled in art and had few other academic successes. Despite these challenges, he went on to be one of the most commercially successful musicians ever. Vincent van Gogh. He is one of the symbols of genius in Western art. He was primarily self-taught. One of his many famous paintings is The Starry Night in 1889. It is speculated that he suffered from acute intermediate porphyria, which I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the way that it was spelled was Porphria. From acute intermittent, name that I can't pronounce, but others suggest bipolar disorder or epilepsy. The next person is Edgar Allan Poe, the 19th century American writer whose dark poems and chilling short stories never failed to fill the readers with fear and dread, but the good fear and dread. It's speculated to have suffered from epilepsy. Poe's accounts of frequent unconsciousness, confusion, paranoia have led to medical professionals to believe that famous horror writer had an epileptic condition. The next person most people know and very much love is Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, with her singing and songwriting abilities and musician, she is also actress and dancer and a fashion designer. She has several awards under her belt, including an Oscar and 9 Grammys. She struggled with fibromyalgia, which causes pain all over her body. She experiences extreme fatigue, muscle stiffness, but is still fabulous and continues to amaze us with her talents. Which actually this one, like half of it, I used my own wording, so. The next one is Steven Spielberg. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, so hopefully when I explain his life, people will understand what I'm talking about. The legendary film director. Steven Spielberg, known for mastering classical films like Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, he is also a genius with learning disabilities. He has talked publicly about being dyslexic, and he learned how to read 2 years after his classmates, which made him a target for bullying at school. Currently, Steven is arguably the most well-known director in Hollywood. Imagine what his childhood bullies think of him now, right? Probably jealous. The next one is Thomas Edison. Before he developed over 1,000 patents and generously utilized electricity for human use, Thomas Edison was struck with a case of scarlet fever that left him almost deaf. Clearly, the profuse inventor did not allow his poor hearing to stop him from pioneering a new age of technology. Another one that most people know and love is Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, at the age of 21, as he was studying cosmology, which is science, at the University of Cambridge, Stephen was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which I'm sure that the first word I pronounced is wrong, so I apologize. In spite of this, the British theoretical physicist proceeded to uphold a revolutionary scientific career spanning over 4 decades. Out of 15 books briefing history of time, the University of in a nutshell, or the universe in a nutshell, a briefer history in time, combined all 3 books present Hawking's theory of Hawking's how the universe began. So I'm sure that there's going to be a part 2 to this, because I am just obsessed with learning history and learning about brilliant minds that, you know, could have definitely been used against them. You know, they could have been, you know, oh, well, I can't do this because I'm disabled, or I must be so stupid. Everyone around me is telling me I can't do it. I should just give up. When on reality, your struggles and disabilities do not make who you are. And that is something that I am learning for myself. And I'm trying to get out of this rut, because I've had a lot of people come in and out of my life that have messed me up, made me feel worse about myself. And people who I thought were my friends were not my friends, or people who I thought really and genuinely loved me, they did not. So my life has been chaotic, and so my mind gets to me a lot, and I lose sight of myself. I love a lot of things. Like, I love art. I love making clothes. I like photography. I like animals. I like a lot of stuff that I just don't indulge anymore, because I'm told that I'm stupid, or I'm never going to amount to anything, or I'm always going to be in this box. I'm always going to be known as this disabled or person who just struggles with life. And I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to let my struggles define me. And that's also why I'm making this video, is because I want to share the love. I want people to understand that their struggles are not who they are, and not to put themselves in that box. And basically, this comes down to something called baby elephant syndrome. Basically, what baby elephant syndrome is, and it's quite sad actually, is in some countries, they will tie baby elephants to a little tree. And so the baby elephant will try whatever it can to get out of this binding. And because they can't, and they're so small, they feel like they're stuck. And so it keeps them in that mindset. So when they get older and they're either still tied to that tree, or they're tied to another small tree, in this elephant's mind, even as a bigger elephant that could probably take down that whole tree, in its mind, it thinks that it can't get out. That it's like when he was a baby, he or she couldn't get out of the binds, being hooked to this tree. And so as an adult, the elephant is stuck, because all it knows is that when it was little, it couldn't get out. So in this elephant's mind, he or she feels trapped and thinks that he will always be stuck. But in reality, if the elephant actually tried to escape being an adult, he could. And so that's why I'm trying to make that very clear, is that I know that I struggle with baby elephant syndrome, and I know that other people in this world struggle with baby elephant syndrome as well. And it will keep people stuck if they stay there. And even with baby elephant syndrome, basically what happens, and you may not even notice that you have baby elephant syndrome, and sometimes even while hearing this, you might be, like, no, I don't know if I have that, or no, I know I don't have that. And even with baby elephant syndrome, you are in denial. You can continue to be in denial even after you have been told that you have baby elephant syndrome. Or some of you might even see this video and be like, oh my gosh, like, I've been doing this the whole time. I have baby elephant syndrome. And sometimes, even when you notice that you have baby elephant syndrome, it's extremely difficult to break free sometimes. And I'm not saying that there is going to be people who won't be able to snap out of it really quickly the minute that they notice that that's happening. But in most cases, especially in mine, it's really difficult to break free of that. And that's why I've gone on a rant, is because I know how it feels. I have baby elephant syndrome, and it's not something I don't think is diagnosable because you can break free of that. So yes, I'm going to make multiple series of this, and on top of it, I'm going to be finishing the other series that I've already started, like the fantasy spiritual series of like fairies, mermaids, little people, which is considered still fairy. They just don't have like wings or whatever. And I'm going to be trying to do also conspiracy theory. Also, when I finish school, if I get accepted, I'm going to be doing some traveling vlogs and stuff like that. So I'm really excited. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the series, and I hope that you can get out of your baby elephant syndrome and you can have more faith in yourself, because you can do this. You're strong, you're independent, and once you break free of your limiting beliefs and the wall that you have set up, even if it wasn't your fault, maybe even if someone else helped you build that wall in your mind, I just want to let you know that you can get through this. You're strong. Don't let that wall hold you back from experiencing things, doing great things. Because I mean, like, I know in my brain, there's tons of things I want to do. Things that I'm passionate about. And I know that if I listened to the other people that were around me that told me these things, I will always live the way that I've been living. I will never break free. I won't experience life. I won't see the world for what it is. And I won't ever get to experience. Like, I want to experience. There's things that I love, and I know I put myself down. Like, I really struggle with math, and that's not 100% my fault. It's because of everything that I went through. And I actually noticed when I started to have problems with math, because when I was a kid, I loved math. I would get excited. I would have these timetable sheets. I think I was like in 3rd grade, and I would beg the teacher to time me, and I would just run through that thing like it was like Disney World, even though I've never actually been to Disney World. That is one of my goals, and a belief in my head about that is, oh, you'll never get to go. You were a foster kid. You don't deserve that. Who says? Who says? Is that the other side of me, my dark self, the other people who put that in my head? No, I'm a 25-year-old girl, and I can do what I want. So, and I need to stay in that energy because I can catch myself slipping back. But yeah, like I'm passionate, so sometimes I even forget what I was saying before that. So I think I forgot some of the stuff I was saying before, but yeah, don't let these limited beliefs, limited baby elephant syndrome keep you from experiencing greatness, because I know that I don't want to live life under an umbrella or a box of you're disabled, you are, your struggles are who you are, and you can't change that. Like, I don't want to live under that umbrella anymore. I don't want to be trapped in that box anymore. And I want to grow greater and bigger and do the things that I know and love. And like with math, like I loved math. And I just remembered what I was saying before. So I loved math. And I remember I had gotten, I think in my first group home ever, and I was able to have visits with my mom again. And I wasn't being treated very well in this group home that I went in. It was the first group home I've ever been in. It was better than most of the group homes that I had been in. But I don't get to the other group homes until a little later. But this was my first group home I was ever in. And at first I was doing really well. And then when I started having my problems is when I started to dial back in math and I started to have problems. And I don't know why I didn't notice this before. Even in adulthood, I should have picked up on it, but I didn't. And then after a while, they just started putting me in special ed classes. Now, I didn't need to be in special ed. I just needed to be listened to. I needed to be taken seriously. The stuff that was happening in the group home and in my life, and I was a foster kid, I needed extra time. I needed extra tutoring. I just needed extra love and support, and that's what I needed, but I wasn't given that. I did get a little bit of tutoring. I remember what the tutor looked like. I remember that I got a little bit of tutoring, but I don't think that lasted more than a couple weeks before they just gave up. And then before I was about to hit 4th grade, I was put in special ed classes, which I didn't need to be. And so that put me into this baby elephant syndrome, because instead of giving me the math that I could do and working on getting me where I needed to be, they started giving me 2 + 2, 8 + 6, instead of giving me what I actually can do, which I was not at plus anymore. I was at times tables, and I was at a certain part in times tables, the three sections where you have to learn or do the 3 sections. I was having a hard time with that, but I also was having a hard time with the stuff that was happening where I was outside of school, which made it difficult for me to learn. Now, I had to realize that this was not my fault. It was not my fault that I was in foster care. It was not my fault that I was in a group home. It was not my fault that I was being treated horribly. It wasn't my fault that most of my family didn't want anything to do with me. But that also causes a lot of problems in the brain as well. So that is where the math with baby elephant syndrome started with me when it came to math. Is I struggled a little bit at first, but it became worse because I didn't have the appropriate people that were there that should be there to guide me and teach me and challenge me. I didn't have any of that. So I got in my own brain and I was like, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm dumb. I'm in this special class for people who, are disabled. That class, a lot of people who are in it, most feel like they are dumb. And especially with someone with my mind, who I was, that I wasn't in a wheelchair. I wasn't severely disabled like a lot of the kids in there. So when I got paired with these people, which there's nothing wrong with that, I loved my classmates. But it was almost like I was in a room full of really, really young children, and I was like an adult learning at their level when I didn't need to be at their level. I had my own level that I was at, and it just kind of made me feel stupid. The class is dumb class, and I do this because I don't believe those people in there are dumb at all. I love those people. But I hope you understand what I'm saying when I say that the mindset that you get when you're in special ed classes, when people find out you're in special ed, it's oh. In their brain, most people, when they hear special ed classes, it's oh, they're dumb. Oh, that they had problems. Oh, they had problems. I know you know what I'm saying. And that just makes me crazy. So, which I'm sure you notice. So this is very raw. I'm not going to edit anything out. I'm going to rant. I'm going to rave. I'm going to try to be fun and professional. But this is the truth about a lot of people who went through trauma and went through baby elephant syndrome is, and I know that this is going a long way away from, my script about people who are genius, but they have disabilities. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm crooked. I'm filming on my computer. So what I'm just trying to say is like, if I was given the proper help, if someone actually understood me and understood that what I was going through wasn't my fault, and I probably would be a math genius right now. I would probably be like a scientist at 25 or something. But like, I remember when I was a teenager where I'd be like, I had several different things I was interested in that I wanted to do. And I still love those things to this day, but I don't think I could get all that schooling done to do everything I ever wanted to do in my whole life. So I remember there was one thing I wanted to do was be a archaeologist. It was very important to me. I love the digging for bones, learning about history. It was my thing. And I was told that because of where I was in my math and sciences, even though I really loved science, even after I went into baby elephant syndrome and I was dumbed down, basically, even after that, I really liked learning science. But because I was in special ed, which this is another thing that gets me tweaked, is I wasn't being taught like other kids in my grade. So there were people learning that were my age in the grade that I was in and the bigger classes that were learning about dissecting and learning about this used to really get me down because I would learn about these things in movies because I was an avid movie watcher. And I would like Twilight. Twilight was my thing. And I have someone to blame for that. And now she picks on me for it. You know who you are, and I know you watch my videos. So I learned this thing from Twilight. I think it was definitely the first one where they were learning about like different organisms and like things through the microscope. And they were dissecting frogs and learning about different isotopes and things like that. And the only reason why I know what that word is because I watched Boy in a Band, Don't Stay in School, which is an amazing, smart song that has a lot of truth in it. So go look at that after this video. But when I watched that scene in Twilight, in my head, in my little brain, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Because I already really like science already, but I couldn't wait to learn about that stuff. That made, like, I was like, oh, the smart kids are learning about that. And I remember when I actually got into where I should have been learning that stuff, and I didn't, and it really affected me. Because, like, what? I'm not strong enough or I'm not smart enough to learn that stuff like the rest of the kids. Like, they didn't even try. They didn't even try to challenge me. They just gave me 2 + 2, 8 × 6, instead of doing what my actual level was and then trying to get me where I was doing more and more and more. So, like, when I was in the group home called Galen, and there are other videos that talk about Galen and my experience, childhood experience, so you can go watch those if you want more in-depth detail, but I'm just going to talk about the math portion that caused me even more trauma and put me even deeper into baby elephant syndrome. So, which gives me anxiety. So basically I was in this group home that had their own school, and it's awful. That place should be shut down. There's so many abuse and stuff that happens in that place, but I'm not even gonna go there. So basically I it was really weighing on my heart. Like, I really wanted harder math. I really wanted to work on challenging me. So I asked the math teacher, hey, can you challenge me? Can you teach me more maths? And instead of actually fully going in depth with me and taking their time and acknowledging that I had a lot of problems, that they needed to work deeper with me, with the math. But instead, he taught me for about a couple days. He got tired of it because my memory was shit. And with me, you have to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going until my brain finally clicks and goes, aha. So obviously these people weren't willing to do that with me. And I started to have meltdowns in class, because they would give me this math that I've never seen before. And I really struggled. And like the staff would say, stop just looking at your page. You've been looking at your page for 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but I already asked for help. And they're like, you can do the work. You just want other people to do it for you. Stop just looking at your page and start doing the work. So obviously I would start trying to defend myself. Like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really struggling with this. And they're like, fine, Tambi, if you're not going to listen to me, go out in timeout, which timeouts for like teenagers is stupid. So they put me in timeout in the hallway, which is like really drafty and cold, and everything's like cold to touch. Like everything's made out of bathroom tile. And so they had me sitting on this cement staircase outside the door. And after having me sit for like 5 to 10 minutes, they would come check up on me, and then they would be like, okay, Tambi, what did you do wrong? And I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. All I did was ask for help. They're like, oh, okay, Tambi, you must want to sit for another 10 minutes. So they had me sitting for another 10 minutes, and then they would come and try to talk to me again, trying to get me to admit to something that I did not do. And then they were like, okay, fine, Tambi, you're getting a 0 for the day. Even though you worked hard on all that other stuff, we're going to give you a 0 for today, and you're going to be in school suspension. And they had a room upstairs that they would take us all, and we couldn't talk, we couldn't breathe loudly, we couldn't do nothing. We just had to sit cross-legged on the floor all freaking day while getting a 0, even though we worked hard on the other stuff that we were working on. And so this really got to me. And they would continue to give me this math, even though I technically asked for it, but they were unwilling to help me get me to a point where I could, in fact, do it on my own. And so what made it worse is because every day I would have these meltdowns and start crying and there were a couple times where I ran out of class in tears because they would not help me. And one time I had homework that was this math, and it was like the really hard algebra. Like, I had never seen this before. No one ever even tried to teach me. It wasn't even like a 5-second teaching. They didn't try to teach me nothing. And they brought it home for homework, and every day after school we would have an hour of homework. I think hour of homework after snack time. And I remember asking for help. They wouldn't help me. So then they're like, well, Tambi, you've been looking at your paper this whole time, blah, 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 blah. You're not doing your work like I told you to. And so obviously I would defend myself like all those other days, and it would go practically the same. But this day I was abused. And they're like, fine, Tambi, if you don't want to listen to me, you're grounded, go to your room. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to my room. This is shit. This is bull crap. I'm not going to my room. I'm not okay with that. And so they sent all the other girls to their room. And you know, when all the girls get sent to their room, crap's about to go down. And they started dragging me, trying to manhandle me, and they were hurting me, trying to pull me to the room. And so basically what I did, because I was stubborn and trying to stand up for myself, is I dead weighted. And I sat on the ground cross-legged, held my hands like this. I said I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to move. You can't make me. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you're just a stubborn child. No wonder no one liked you. No. I was standing up for myself because I knew what was happening to me was wrong, and I am not going to allow someone to be happy while trying to hurt me. Not going to happen. So basically one of the managers, the house manager, her name is Ann Blas, which I go into more detail probably in the videos where I talk about it. She saw me from the corner of her eye and she goes, Tambi, I'm tired of your shit. As she walks up to me, manhandles me while picking me up and slams my face extremely hard across the tile. And I woke, and when I hit that floor, oh, I hit it. And I felt this crack and a bunch of heat just hit my face. I was already extremely red. And obviously I burst into tears because it hurt like a motherfucker. And I was embarrassed. And the next day I woke up with a gigantic bruise from here to my eyebrow. I tried to hide it. They wouldn't let me. They said I deserved it. I deserved to have shown. A CPS worker came that day and saw the bruise, asked why I got it. They didn't take me serious because the staff lied to the CPS worker, and I was left in that abusive situation. Even though I had a black eye, there is nothing in this world that makes it so a child deserves to have a black eye. If you're giving a child a bruise or a black eye, you are abusing them, and there's no reason for it. So basically, I have trauma because of that. And like when I was at the college trying to finish my HiSET, which I ended up quitting once I got deeper into the math, because I was getting anxiety, and every time I asked for help, I was afraid that I was going to get a black eye. I was afraid that I was going to get hurt. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed and choked up. So, like, I have a lot of problems in the math department, even though I used to be a freaking math genius. And a lot of the people that still know me today, that knew me when I was a teenager, they don't know that I used to be a genius in math. They don't know that. They just know the girl that struggles with math and isn't where everyone else is at. And it's really hard because, like, I'm an advocate. I am activist. I want to bring hope and light and keep people strong. And I will admit, I struggle. That's why I'm still like teary-eyed and I cry and I get anxiety because of this. And I don't want it to affect me. I don't want it to affect my being. I don't want to be stuck in baby elephant syndrome. I want to grow. I want to experience life. I don't want to be known, at least in my head, that I'm the dumb girl that couldn't finish anything. That I'm not like everyone else my age. I get more along with teenage children than I do with people my own age. Or I get more along with people who are like 80 years old. But yeah, so sorry, I have to take a deep breath. Like, just remember to take a deep breath when things get hard. Don't feel ashamed to take a deep breath. So, yeah, I really struggled with math. And I just recently noticed that it wasn't because I was dumb. It wasn't because something was wrong with me. It was because of trauma. It was because of the other people around me that should have supported me. They didn't. And that's not my fault. And I put myself in a box that I was always going to be dumb and stupid. And I wasn't going to be able to experience life and grow, and that I was always not going to be able to do math. And when I go to a new school or do a new thing, I always warn people I'm horrible at math. I might have a meltdown. And it's something that I recognize, but I don't want to be considered that. Like, I don't want my brain to hold me back because it was everybody else's problem when I was a kid. It wasn't even my fault. And that's something that I'm hoping that the rest of you guys understand, is that a lot of these things that you think is your problem is not your problem. It's other people's problem. They caused it. They made it worse. When someone notices that there's a problem, it should have been dealt with appropriately and lovingly. But with my life, and with, I'm sure, with multiple other people's life, they didn't do that. They didn't sit with me and spend time with me and get to know why I was struggling. They just gave up and then put me in special ed classes. I didn't need that. And even if they were putting me in special ed classes, or they should have treated me like a different case. They shouldn't have treated me like everybody else in that class, because I was very different. Most of the people in my class were extremely autistic. They had Down syndrome, or they were mentally just not there. And I'm not saying that those people in that class wouldn't have been able to be amazing people, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. Because Stephen Hawking couldn't talk. He had to use a robot to talk. He couldn't move really on his own. He could blink and like move his eyes and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that those people were stupid. Because I guarantee you, if they actually worked with those kids and built their confidence and built what they were able to do, instead of just keeping them in this little circle of doing 2 + 2, being able to level up and level up and level up, they probably would have been able to do great things with those people in that class. But they didn't. And they put me at the same level as them. And metaphorically speaking, they dumbed me. They dumbed me down. And I didn't really have the control to be like, I want more. I want to do more. Because the last time I wanted more, I got hurt. I got a black eye. I had people not understanding me. I got people accusing me of things I wasn't doing. And so when I did get into public school, but it was in a special ed class, again, I was like, I wanted to ask for more, but I couldn't. And so I just stopped thinking about it because I was afraid. I was afraid that if I asked for more, that I would be given something that I couldn't do and not taught how to do it, or I would be abused. And I didn't want that. And I want to finish school. I didn't graduate high school. So I want to get my high school diploma. And I know my baby elephant syndrome is keeping me from doing that. And it's very important to me because, like, I'm going to be joining this program soon. Hopefully I get approved, and it's awesome. Like, I'll be living there. Food and lodging is in all, like, included. They have people who work with you. They even have counselors and stuff like that. So, like, hopefully this will be a lot easier for me, and they will help me work at my own pace and not treat me like I'm an idiot. And, like, yes, I'm upset because I feel like I missed out on whatever genius I could have been. Because when I was in 3rd grade, before I started having the problems, I was a genius. Like, with my math, like, I was a whiz. I was excited. And I think I was even ahead of the class at one point before I just started going, ew. And it's because I wasn't nurtured. I wasn't cared for. I wasn't challenged. I wasn't molded, in a sense. I didn't have someone working with me to help me. They just gave up on me. And so now at 25 years old, I'm trying to figure myself out and get out of the hole that necessarily wasn't even my fault. And now in adulthood, I have a choice. Do I stay in that hole that was created for me, regardless if it was my fault or not? Or do I get out of this hole? Because now it's ultimately up to me if I break free. And so that's what I want you guys to know, is that now, especially in adulthood, you have this choice. And even if you're a teenager and you're realizing this now, realize that this is now a choice because you know this now. If you choose to stay in baby elephant mode and in denial mode, you will not get anywhere. And I know that's hard to say or even think about. It's because I've been fighting this lesson for years into adulthood. I've kept myself in this hole because I don't know anything else. New is scary. Even when the new is a positive thing, in a trauma brain, even if you didn't go through extremely traumatic things, baby elephant syndrome is baby elephant syndrome. And so, like, when you keep yourself in that situation, it's ultimately now your fault. Because it used to be their fault over there. But now that you notice it, it needs to be dealt with, or you're going to continue to live in that hole. And once you notice it, you have a choice to do something about it or to not do something about it. If you choose not to do something about it, it's ultimately now your fault. Because you're carrying around other people's baggage on you. When what is best is to let other people's baggage go, because it wasn't your fault that you were in this situation. It wasn't your fault that you were abused. It wasn't your fault that someone didn't nurture you and love you like they should have. It's not your fault, and you do not need to carry these other people's burdens on your shoulders. Once you drop other people's burdens and start to heal yourself and learn how to protect yourself and grow, which I'm still doing, a weight will lift off your shoulders. It might not be instant. It might be slow, like taking one rock off of a weight, a weigher. But ultimately, it is your choice. And I know that for myself. I know that it's been my fault, even these past couple years, that I've noticed that I had baby elephant syndrome. Well, I mean, I didn't full on notice the baby elephant syndrome, but I knew the other stuff. Like, I know that it's ultimately my choice if I stay in the predicament I'm in. But I just recently learned that there is such thing as baby elephant syndrome and what it actually entails. And that I have it. So, take a step. Take a breather and understand that it is not your fault. Your childhood, the things that happened to you were not your fault, and you don't have to carry it anymore. Just remember the list of names I read of amazing geniuses who had other people's burdens on them, who had disabilities and traumas and triggers and struggles. They did not let that affect who they were as a person. And they fought through it. Sorry, I need to plug in my computer. They fought through that. They didn't let other people tell them how to do things. They didn't let others control them. They didn't listen to the negativity, in a sense. And they did what they wanted to do because they had faith in themselves. And that is something that I'm learning about for myself, is to have faith in myself and to break free of those chains that have been holding me back for a long time. Sorry, I'm checking to see if my phone is, or not my phone, but my computer is charging here, because I don't want to this to die randomly. So I know this video was a full-on rant, and I apologize for that. But this is, and I know how like most of this video was me talking about my experiences, and a lot of people will be like, oh, that's just because you're only thinking about yourself. No, the reason why I do that is because I go back to trauma. It's a trauma brain thing. I can't control it. I'm working on healing it. But also, I want other people to understand that they're not alone. That I have problems too. That I'm working through and growing through and figuring myself out, and that I've been through stuff too. And I wanted to be a little bit in detail like I was, because I didn't want anybody to feel some type of left out. But also, ultimately, I was just trying to show that other people are not alone. But also, it was trauma brain. I do it in therapy all the time. I go on a rant and I just word vomit all my trauma and flashbacks and things I'm going through. So yeah, if you want to see more of my childhood, the stuff that I went through and why I am the way that I am, there's videos on that on my channel. You can go and find that. I'm also on a series of talking about my adult stuff and the things that I went through after aging out of foster care. I am not done with that series yet. I think it's going to go quite slow because I'm now trying to heal and process, and it's hard. Life is hard. So yeah, thank you for listening, and there will be more parts to this. Hopefully I don't go as on many rants as I did, but I'm going to keep this 100, and this whole 1 hour video is going to be posted. So I hope you guys are safe and well, and stay classy. Bye.